Hello everyone. In the continuation of our discussion, we will be again discussing our next question, next model question, and the question reads like, what is the impact of globalization on mobilization of the working class in India? So here it's a topic from your globalization, and it's there is a topic in Indian society paper, that is impact of globalization, and the question is a bit direct question. So here it's a bit it's asking about the impact of globalization on the mobilization of working class of the people. So here the main thing that you have to keep in mind, again you have to think about what the key concept that is being asked. Every time when you read a question, just after reading the question, this must strike your mind that what is the key concept that I have to write about, or what is the demand of the question, right? Then getting that idea, it's a good thing, right, before writing. So that will give you an idea of how to proceed for the question, or from which all dimensions you can write the question. So again, we'll be discussing how to write an answer again in a bit proper sense, so you to get a decent mark. And again I will be discussing at the end what are the do's and don'ts for this question, or question coming on like globalization, what you have to write and what you have not to write. So again, like for this question we will see the three parts has to be there: the introduction, the body of the answer, and conclusion. Starting with our introduction part. Since the question is about globalization and its impact, so first thing that you might start, or this is just a way to start, you can start in any other way, but it will be a decent way to start the question by defining globalization. That is, what do you mean by globalization? And we know that globalization is a process which integrates the Indian economy to the world economy. So it's more complex than that, just integration of the economy. We know that when the globalization process happens, it has its effects and impact on each and every section of the society. Let it be economic, or let it be social effects, let it be cultural effects, psychological effects, environmental effects. Different effects of the or impacts of globalization is there. So, but here the question is asking about the impact of globalization, and that too on the mobilization of working class. So again you must get the idea, what do you mean by mobilization of working class? So by the term itself, the mobilization, it is related to something called movement, or the mobile thing. So here the mobilization, it means the change in the change in the lifestyle, or the change in the different dimensions of working class. Here the mobilization is still it's not restricted. So when you are writing the question, keep in mind this mobilization of working class, it's not restricted to only the economic sector, like migration or like employment opportunity. It's not restricted to that. You have to think multi-dimensionally. When again I am reminding, whenever you are attempting a society paper, you must attempt the paper from multi-dimensional perspective. This gives an idea to the examiner that you are a multifaceted personality. You can think from multi-dimensionally. So that is a impressive thing to start. So in the introduction itself, you can write about, like, you can start by defining globalization, or you can start with giving the situation of the working class, their lifestyle, their employment opportunity, before pre-globalization era, before 1991 and or after 1991, since we are talking in Indian context. So what happened after globalization, how it affected the mobilization of working class. Or you can just start by giving globalization, or defining globalization in terms of mobilization, or what do you mean by mobilization of globalization has impacted the the life of working people in different dimensions, let it be economic life, or let it be their social life, their cultural life. It has impacted, and it has left an imprint on every sphere of working class. You just can start like either of the ways, whatever suits you, right? So this is about the introduction. So coming to the body of the answer, here you have to write exactly, since the question is a bit direct one, it's just asking about the impact. So you can just start, so be multidimensional, give at least sense of that, what is effect or impact of globalization on each dimension. For example, the impact of globalization on economic mobilization. So what is economic mobilization? Mobilization, we need something in terms of movement or change, right? So what has happened? You can write in, give economic mobilization, and again write what is the positive effect for economic mobilization, what is the negative effect for this. So here you can write like, okay, they have, after globalization, the working class, they have though shifted from formal economy to informal. But if in context of Indian context we are talking about, of course it has created more better job opportunity. Let it be, in informal sector itself, but it has created a better employment opportunity. That is a good point, or that is, you can get a positive impact of globalization on the mobilization or in the change of the employment opportunity of working class. The negative aspect you can write about, since migration is happening because the creation of different IT hubs, like even in Indian, the Bangalore and the Hyderabad, they are now considered as the IT hubs. So the people from different states, they are migrating to these IT hubs, and since this migration, it's causing a kind of brain drain. It might be, you can write either in aspect of Indian context, like how it is happening interstate, or you can write about how international migration, that is outside India, again it is a loss for Indian human resource, like since the talented and professionals, they are moving out of India, that is a brain drain is happening, and globalization is, it's mostly due to the globalization. So that is a negative impact you can write. Coming to social mobilization, what is the positive effect is that the women now, they are actively taking part in agriculture, since the men of the household, they are migrating to some other state or abroad for a better job employment opportunity. So the women back at home, they have started working on the land. So there has been a process, what we call feminization of agriculture is happening, and this is a positive thing, again because women, at least they are, since they are actively taking part in agriculture of India, so and so they are being a part of working force, that is empowering them, that is giving them a decision making power, making them independent, financially independent. So it is a good impact of, or a positive impact of globalization. Again you can say about like change in class structure. See, with the coming of globalization, a new kind of urban middle class has emerged in urban setup. And so earlier, if you see, pre-globalization society, it was mostly divided into, upper class who used to own means and modes of production, and the lower class who used to work on that. Now there is among this working class, there is a movement or a change in the class structure is there, that is a urban middle class is came up. So that it's a good positive impact of globalization, a change in class structure. Then coming to the negative impact in terms of social mobilization is about, with the globalization, there is a change in living patterns, and of course since there are negative impacts like pollution, degradation of environment is happening, that is making the surrounding and the living area very disease prone for the working class. So many health problems and health issues are coming up, so that could be a negative impact you can write. Coming to the cultural mobilization, impact of globalization on the cultural mobilization, here you can write there is a change, there is a movement from a lower standard of living to a higher standard or better standard of living, since people now they are getting into better jobs, so they are high paid and or at least a better paid jobs. So of course there is change in standard of living. Then in cultural change you can write, since the labor of the working class, now it is seen as an object which could be sold off, or it has become a commodity, you can say. The labor has become a commodity, right? So that commodification of labor has led to the alienation of or isolation of men from himself, from his fellow beings, or for let it be, he does not have any control on the product of his labor. So if he is producing something, or if he is working in factory, and if he does not have a control on the product of his own, what he has made. So that has created a kind of isolation, a stress feeling and alienation among the working class, that you can write as a cultural impact. Then coming to political impact, it's on mobilization. It is about, of course, after globalization, there is a strengthening of trade unions. Now they, the laborers, they could put their demand, and now the trade union has given a political platform to put their demand for their voices, what they need and what they don't want. So this is a good positive impact. The negative political impact could be, since now there is a change in technology because of globalization. So the most of the Indian population, they are unskilled or incompetent to use that new technologies. So we are hiring contract laborers, and the the salaries and the insecurity is always attached to that contract laborers. So that could be a negative aspect of this. The contract laborers, they are being more exploited for this, or they have less paid jobs, and they don't have any say in that there, because being the laborers or the working class, being without or unemployed, they prefer to be at least working as contract laborers. So that could be a negative political impact for this. So this could be in a nutshell your body of the answer that you have to write multidimensionally in all the impacts, including since the mobilization, the globalization has impacted each and every sphere of a life of a working class. So you have to mention each and every aspect. Coming to our conclusion part, here you can write analysis of all this kind of impact of globalization, what has happened on the mobilization of working class. So in the analysis you can write like, okay, globalization has happened and it has acted as both, and it has proved to be both a boon or a bane for the Indian working class. You see, it has both positive and negative impacts, as just we discussed. So it is a combination of both, and thus the Indian government, it has to come up with some labor laws which could, or some legislations which could help the contract laborers, or which could help them to get out of their insecure life, since being in the part of informal sector, they don't have any old age security, for financial security especially, and they don't have any pension system as such. So they can be fired, there is no security of job also. So the government it's needed that the government can come up, or it might strengthen the existing labor laws to make the situation of working class a better place. And this will, of course, if there is an improvement in the status and the working style of working class, of course it will contribute in the development and the growth of the country. So this should be a decent thing to write about, how to deal with the introduction, the impacts, and the analysis or the solution conclusion part. You can write about this. Now coming to the do's and don't parts, what you have to do with. See, since if you see the syllabus of Indian society, it is directly given what is the impact of globalization. So while preparing this topic, prepare the impact of globalization on each and every sector, every possible sector what you can think of, right? Let it be working class, women, tribes, Dalits, youth. So each and everything, because it has been like there has been repetitive question from the effect of impact of globalization. Last year it was on the diversity of India, cultural diversity of India. So you can expect a thing question, and since it is it will become even a bit direct question, the impact of globalization on some specific sector, because if UPSC is asking, it will be asking the impact of globalization on some specific sector, like women or tribe or Dalit. So prepare this topic as it is, and try not to, again I'll say, don't repeat the thing, like many students while they're writing, they're just confined to one sector, like economic sector and on economic mobilization itself. No, since the mobilization we are talking and the impact of globalization, so globalization is a more complex term than it goes beyond the economic sector itself. It's not only about, if you saw the term mobilization and you saw okay, mobilization means a movement, so it has to do with migration. So you have to think like it's not only have to do with migration. Mobilization means some the change is there, some movement is there. So change it has happened in many ways, in economic ways, social ways, cultural ways, political ways. So you have to be multidimensional while writing these kinds of questions, especially when the impact of globalization is asked. So from the theme might be different, but whatever theme the UPSC is asking, try to attempt to answer the question in a multi-dimensional way. Think about the different dimensions of the same theme. So then you can get a correct and balanced picture of this. So you have to keep in mind that, and yes, repetition only, don't repeat the migration issue or the employment opportunity issue. It will make your answer one-sided. you know, you are just being a one-sided of economic, you are just addressing economic section only. So that would, I think that would make your answer a bit narrow. So make it multidimensional, make it broad, and of course you can, you know, you can write it in a better way also. So that's all.